Away we go. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Wherever you happen to be in the world today, welcome one and all to Coffee Talk. And it's time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world here today. Take a look at some clips from the news and share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you happen to be listening anywhere else and you wanted to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That is at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta as we get ready to launch off here. As always, I do read through as many of the comments as is reasonable for the benefit of those of you who may be listening and not able to see what is going on. And I'll say hello to some of the people that have chosen to chime in so far. I see Helter is with us today, as well as Dragon, Brian, Monkey, Cyberjack Sr. I have Miss Kitty actually keeping me company today. Miss Kitty in the chair behind me for those of you who can see. And Legend says Whoopi keeps winding up in my newsfeed. I know she's all over the place, Whoopi Goldberg, because she's up to her eyeballs in it with that whole thing with the bakery, which is why I put up that particular thumbnail. If those of you who saw it, of course, I used Soup Nazi as the baker. Cougar has joined us. Glad you could make it today. But yeah, there's a lot of retaliation because of that. That bakery pushed back. Good for them. Good for them. They didn't take that on the chin. And she's been exposed for baiting and for basically just being dishonest. She wasn't honest about any of that. And she tried to use that on a spin for her own personal agenda, whatever, and it has backfired. Although she could plausibly sit there and say she misunderstood, oh, I misinterpreted what was going on, I'm sorry about that, and try to crawl out from under it. But hopefully she won't make it, because we're seeing a lot of these people now starting to get buried. I see D'Lo has joined us. Like Al Sharpton, we read that yesterday, that the Harris campaign fund paid him $500,000 from the campaign contribution fund to his private charity, or his nonprofit rather, and that MSNBC was unaware of it at the time. And that is a pay-for-play violation. And MSNBC is already under a microscope because, who is it, Comcast owns them, wants to cut MSNBC completely. So everybody there is under the axe right now, wondering, is there going to be an MSNBC next week? Are we all going to lose our jobs? Whatever. And now Al Sharpton pulls that shit, and MSNBC is like, oh, please, no FCC violations. We can't take it. We can't take it right now. We're already wondering if we're going to be working the same time next year. We're wondering if we're going to end up on the unemployment line. What the hell? And there goes Al Sharpton doing his usual shady business. That's right, Brian. No soup for you. 2 weeks. Tuck says, happy Thanksgiving. Indeed. Well, not quite Thanksgiving yet, but yes. And recommendations. Thanksgiving specials. Naturally, the Peanuts Thanksgiving is classic. And the Berenstain Bears. The 70s Berenstain Bears. Because there's 3 incarnations of Berenstain cartoons. The 70s made-for-TV specials, holiday specials, which are hilarious and well done. The 80s Saturday morning cartoon from Hanna-Barbera, which is worthless. And then the PBS after-school special version from the 90s, which is okay, but it's better. At least it's better than the Saturday morning cartoon version. So I recommend those two. And you have the BC Thanksgiving special, BC from the daily comic strips back in the day. The Thanksgiving special, it's okay, nostalgic but okay. The Christmas special, however, is really well done. Really well done. Legends wants Arnold to be a co-host on The View. He's as bad as Whoopi at this point. That guy's really gone crazy. It must be all the surgeries. Jericho says, used to read the Bears a lot as a child. Yeah, Berenstain Bears. The Berenstain Bears. And speaking of old school, here goes dear old, sweet old, lovable old, reliable old, transparent old Uncle Joe, not Uncle Joe Stalin, but Uncle Joe Biden. Not that you could tell the difference. From the Tampa Free Press, lame duck Biden administration cuts massive check for failing EV manufacturer. Here we go, more money. Throw it all out there before we get out of office. Bury the administration. The Biden-Harris administration announced a multi-billion-dollar loan for electric vehicle maker Rivian Monday as the company continues to hemorrhage cash. Rivian lost $1.1 billion and saw its revenue fall nearly $500 million in the third quarter of 2024 as a slacking of consumer demand has hampered the industry's growth. Now the U.S. Department of Energy has agreed to a conditional commitment to loan the automaker roughly $6.6 billion to help finance the construction of its manufacturing facility in Georgia, according to a press release from the Department of Energy. Here we go. Here's the bullshit line. Quote, and this is from Rivian's CEO. This loan will help create thousands of new American jobs and further strengthen U.S. leadership in EV manufacturing and technology. A robust ecosystem of U.S. companies developing and manufacturing EVs is critical for the U.S. to maintain its long-term leadership in transportation. Yeah, that's some bullshit right there. Yeah, it doesn't create new jobs. I mean, it'll create new jobs temporarily while the building is being put up. Also, keep in mind that you've got a company that is going into bankruptcy that lost $1.1 billion this year. Building a new plant. Think about that. You're ready to go Chapter 11, and you're going to make a new building to manufacture more vehicles that nobody wants. The only reason these companies were making any money is because of government subsidies and government loans in the first place. And too many of them have gone belly up in the last couple of years because the interest really just isn't there. Because after a while, people start to realize, hey, this shit doesn't work. It doesn't work. And now they just got another drop in the bucket, $6.6 billion from the Biden administration. Brian says he remembers a 2003 Berenstain Bears series. That might still be part of the PBS after school. Tuck says Cloward Piven. Raccoon has joined us, as well as All People, who says Al Sharpton was a bodyguard for James Brown. Both are from families that hail from the Caribbean, and Brown claimed to be part Chinese. Did he? I didn't think I heard that one. I don't think I heard about him claiming to be part Chinese. That's kind of funny, actually. Yes, sorry, I got an alert. But yeah, this is a waste. All they're doing is prolonging the inevitable, and that company is going to fold anyways. That company's going to fold anyways. It's talking about that there's already been an additional $12 billion in taxpayer funds for the car manufacturers to retrofit plants for EV production. And now another 6.6 for this one company that's about to fold because of how much money they lost. And the money they lost is money that they didn't have because they were running on subsidies and government loans anyways. Because this shit doesn't work. They keep pushing out stuff that does not work. And I've mentioned it before. I mentioned it, was it last week? That I've got a neighbor somewhere way down the road there that has an electric vehicle. It's basically a $50,000 paperweight sitting in the garage. It needs parts that can't be replaced because the company that made that car, and I don't remember which EV company it is, but the company that made that car has already gone belly up. So there are no parts. There's no uniformity across the board with car manufacturers. Like when you have your truck, you may have different specific engine parts, but you can still go get a battery, a box of spark plugs. You can go get different things that you might need for repairs or upgrades. You can't do that with an electric vehicle. Chris says they know someone that bought an EV and decided to return it 2 days later and still got a government rebate check. Interesting. That's interesting. Well, there won't be any more of that because I think we'll be moving away from the government rebates. Again, electric vehicles, wind power, solar power, it doesn't work. Recycling, it doesn't work. But we've been lied to about all of that for years. We've been lied to about all of it for years. And this is just part of the lie. All of those industries, those 4 industries, recycling, specifically plastic. Let me emphasize there. Plastic recycling, wind power, solar power, and electric vehicles. All 4 of those industries, almost all of their money that's keeping them going is coming from government subsidies, which means your tax dollars are paying for it. You're paying for failed systems to perpetually operate, to spin a narrative about climate change and whatever bullshit that they're trying to spoon feed us and they've been trying to force on us for the last few years. It's really kind of sickening. It's really kind of sickening that so many trillions. How many trillions of dollars do you think that the United States has poured into recycling plants since the 70s to pretend that plastic recycling is a thing? Again, you might remember I did a complete independent video using the EPA's own website to demonstrate that it doesn't work. You could look up, Google, Bing, whatever you got. You can get on right now and type in how many times can plastic be recycled and look at the response. Most plastic can't even be recycled once. When they say single-use bottles on the bottled water, you know, the ones that like you squeeze them and you hear all that crinkling, and it says single-use bottle, that's because it can't be recycled, not because you're only supposed to drink it and throw it away. It doesn't work. Trillions of dollars for decades, for 50 years, the government's been lying to us about recycling. They're lying to us about solar, and they're lying to us about wind power and these electric vehicles too. Is there anything we can do about it? That's the question. RL30 has joined us. Chris says they bought a 2009 hybrid 3 years ago, and 2 years ago the state changed the car title to up the EV numbers for the state. Interesting. And I'll put that up there from All People real quick, so you can read that if you want to, talking about lineages in the United States. As we get ready to roll in, we talked about this a little bit yesterday because Harris has now been exposed for having spent $1.5 billion on her campaign and has nothing to show for it and is in debt. They're in debt, $1.5 billion, and didn't pay people. And it's getting worse. Fox News article, DNC union launches a GoFundMe to help former staffers that have been hit by massive layoffs after the election loss. And by the way, I don't know if you've seen the articles here recently. Hold on, I have to close the door. That now Harris staff are blaming the media for her loss by saying that they did not ask her good questions, and that's why she didn't do good in the interviews. The interviews were all staged. They asked the questions that they were told to ask by her staff. Don't turn around now and say that they didn't ask her good questions. Have you seen these? This has been all over the media, especially this morning. But back to this article about the DNC here. It says the union representing members of the Democratic National Committee launched a GoFundMe to raise money for staffers who were abruptly laid off last week, prompting backlash from those still on the DNC payroll who have described the cuts as a betrayal of party values. The GoFundMe created by the DNC union seeks to raise $25,000 to assist staff impacted by the layoffs following their losses in the 2024 election. $25,000 for all of them, or $25,000 apiece? How many people were laid off? Members of the DNC staff union said that the fundraising page that the abrupt wave of layoffs had included 2/3 of DNC staff who were let go with little notice and no severance because they didn't need you anymore. You all fired. In a public statement, the union blasted the DNC leadership for the layoffs, which they described as callous and short-sighted, and which they noted extended to employees who were previously told their positions at the DNC would be safe after the election. You believed that? 25,000 is not a lot. It says, as of the writing of this article, the fund has raised 15,453 out of the goal of 25,000. How many people were laid off, though? How many people are you going to stretch 25,000 into? The DNC can't come up with $25,000 on its own for the people that they promised jobs that have all been fired now because she lost. Of course you were fired. She lost. That goes with the territory. Nobody wants you. Jericho says, never imagined a political administration starting a GoFundMe, and here I am living check to check, unable to even feed myself, and I won't even get a dime if I start a fund. I know. I've done it a couple of times. I've got the GoFundMe up right now for the cats. Almost got to the goal for the TNVR services for them. Almost made it. Helter says, these are the people that said they would control the government spending. Exactly. Bad Christian says, let's make America great again. Indeed. Hopefully we'll get there. Dragon says, maybe they should learn to code. That's what they told people. I know. It doesn't work. You sound like a phony piece of shit. And that's another reason why people did not like Harris, because she feels fake. She feels like a phony. Raccoon says Waltz looks like the Rancor Keeper in the photo. I'll give the Rancor Keeper a break. That was an emotional guy. He lost his friend. He lost his friend in Return of the Jedi. Poor Rancor Keeper. And I'll put that up from all people. So now they have to do a GoFundMe. They ought to do a GoFundMe for the people who didn't get paid at all. Didn't get paid at all, never mind the staffers. And speaking of shady business, I got a couple of shady business ones for you, including AOC. AOC caught with her pants down. Caught with her pants down. Caught lying again. Will it change anything? Will it keep her from getting elected next time? Will anyone hold her accountable? I have to wonder. Washington Examiner article. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says that she doesn't take lobbyists' cash. I don't take money from lobbyists. That's what she says there. I don't take cash from lobbyists. Are you sure about that? Country Living is here. Glad you could make it. Says thumbs up, everyone. I appreciate it. I think it's kind of funny, actually, Country. Not picking on anybody, but it's interesting to see a video get 200 views and it has like five thumbs up. Savage says Anakin was right. The Jedi were evil. Is that right, Savage? Anyways, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has repeatedly claimed that she won't accept funds from lobbyists. Campaign finance records, however, show that she has received nearly 100 separate donations from registered lobbyists since taking office. And there it is. There it is. She flat out lied. Or maybe she doesn't know anything at all about her finances. I seriously doubt that, though, because you don't take money from a lobbyist without them expecting something. They're getting something from you. Period. Ocasio-Cortez's account description on X states that the Congresswoman is people funded. That's a quote. People funded, and takes no lobbyists' cash. Using a money bag emoji in the place of the word cash for the purpose of quotation. Despite her claim to the contrary, the representative has taken thousands in contributions from lobbyists since assuming office, according to her federal records. The Congresswoman has an extensive record decrying the influence of money on policies. In 2018, shortly after winning office for the first time, Cortez criticized her party's refusal to reject lobbyists' money. Interesting. Since then, she has called to ban members of Congress from working as lobbyists after leaving office, rebuked fellow Democrats for their close ties to lobbyists, and accused lobbyists of working to kill legislation that would benefit the public. While Ocasio-Cortez has hashed words for lobbyists, she has accepted donations from them every single year since taking office. And there it is. There it is. Country says aren't lobbyists people. Yeah, there you go. She's equivocating. She's equivocating by lobbyists are people too. Lobbyists are people too. Jericho says, as flattering shot, they ruined her face with filters. She's, I know people say that she's attractive. She's really not if you catch her without Photoshop or filters or, whatever the hell they do, or without a quarter inch of makeup frosted onto her face like a damn birthday cake. She's really not. So, that's just television magic. Fluke Man has gotten here today. Glad you could make it, Fluke Man. I've got Miss Kitty keeping me company. Hi, darling. She's knocked out cold on the chair behind me. Bad Christian says he lives in Los Angeles, California. We have the highest taxes in the nation, most homeless people, most gang members, dirtiest streets, most potholes, and we keep voting Democrat. We are idiots. Does that include you, though? Are you also voting Democrat, or is it a situation where you just have no choice because everyone who's running is Democrat? So that was the case with Cortez. Cortez keeps winning, but everybody who runs against her is Democrat. That the previous cycle, no one even ran against her at all. She was a shoo-in. Savage says the Jedi. Savage talking about the Jedi. Come on now. Talking about the Jedi. We're on that still. But there you go. This is the pot calling the kettle black. She attacks other congressmen. And this is, again, why I question people like her and Nancy Pelosi and others. When the hell do you do your job? when all you do is pick fights with people from other states who have nothing to do with whatever the hell's going on in your district. When do you do your job? When? Did I miss it? And you have the nerve to sit there and attack people for dealing with lobbyists, and you have just short, they don't give an exact number, but rounded up to 100 separate lobbyist donations on federal record. And you don't deal with a lobbyist without influence. That's what they're for. Bad Christian says he would never vote Democrat. He's a minority. I'm only here because I was born and raised here and all of my family is here. I understand. It's not so easy to just pick up and go. Some people can and some people cannot. Some people can and some people cannot. But there you go. Savage says Star Wars movies just go to show how snowed with propaganda people are. Is why he's talking about it. Let me stop this video clip here so that I can keep Restream from having a hiccup as we roll into some more corruption. You know, I love exposing activists and politicians and other people who get caught up. You'll love this one. New York Post article. Defund the police activist misused his charitable donations up to 75 or over 75,000 on lavish vacations and shopping sprees. Well, all right. You didn't know he was collecting that money for himself? Here he is. And that's Anderson. Mr. Anderson. It looks like he's in Louisiana. You know they have a tax on those porches? I think I'm not sure if that passed, but I remember reading a couple of years ago that they were going to impose a tax on the porches in Louisiana but that's part of the ancestral, as it were, architecture. It's kind of ridiculous. So an anti-police activist misused more than 75,000 in donations to pay for a lavish Cancun vacation and several shopping sprees and stiffed his sole employee out of tens of thousands of dollars in earned wages, according to the Attorney General of Washington, D.C. That's Brian Schwab, sued Brandon Anderson and his Police Transparency and Accountability nonprofit organization, Rahim Al, or AI, for allegedly violating the district's workers' rights and charity group laws, claiming that the Defund the Police backer used charitable funds to support a luxurious lifestyle. I keep finding usually it's somebody from Black Lives Matters that you catch up in something like this. So a Defund the Police activist getting caught is a nice little change of flavor here. Brandon Anderson misused charitable donations to fund lavish vacations and shopping sprees, and the Rahim Al board of directors let him get away with it, according to Schwab. Not only did their financial abuses violate fundamental principles of nonprofit governance, but Anderson and Rahim Al failed to pay their employees the wages they had earned. The Attorney General added, "My office will not allow people to masquerade behind noble causes while violating the law, cheating taxpayers, or stealing from their workers. Because that's our job, damn it!" That wasn't there. I just added that part. Anderson, a self-described advocate for police abolition, founded Rahim Al. Is Rahim Al a person? In 2017, with the goal of equipping Black, Brown, and Indigenous community crisis responders with the tools, training, connections, and funding they need to provide care. To who? Rahim Al sought to create an emergency dispatch app that would allow people wary of police to bypass calling 911 during a time of crisis. Oh no. Yeah, how's that worked out for you? Anderson's nonprofit has received more than 4.3 million in donations before the app project fizzled out. Wow, I'm in the wrong line of work, I'm telling you. Jasmine Banks, a former Rahim staffer, told the outlet in August she discovered credit card records detailing Anderson's lavish spending after the nonprofit stopped paying her salary. The complaint against Anderson and Rahim details over $40,000 in spending on mansion and penthouse apartment rentals. Who rents a mansion? $10,000 on personal travel, including a trip to Cancun, a $10,000 executive director clothing allowance. And he dresses like this with an Ice Cube t-shirt. Okay. Oh man, used on the purchase of luxury retailers such as Bottega Veneta, Alexander McQueen, Bloomingdale's, Farfetch, and Saks Fifth Avenue. Is that what he means? And $5,000 on emergency veterinary services. For the company mascot. The lawsuit also alleges Anderson and Rahim violated the district's Nonprofit Corporation Act, Wage Payment and Collection Law, and Ban on Non-Compliance Agreements Act. Incredible. Oh, no. Brian, on the side comment there, he says, people who say if you don't like it, then move out are smartasses. It's not always so easy. If you have anything at all, it's hard to just pick up and go. If you're just like a hobo, it doesn't matter where you go or what you do. If you've got nothing to lose, you can just pick up and leave. Otherwise, it's very expensive and it's very difficult. Savage says they left California with what they could carry on their back. Best choice they ever made. Helter says BLM's always been a scam. If I catch up comments really quickly. Country says maybe as a twist, now the police can go arrest him. Exactly. Well, he must be under arrest if he's being charged. Dragon says people like him genuinely think they deserve to lie and scam. They don't see it as cheating. They see it as getting even. Yeah, I know. That's his reparations, man. How are you going to deny the man his reparations? Fluke says if you pick and go, where can you go? The government and authorities won't abuse their powers. Cooperates won't, or corporates won't get away with corruption and selling defective products and so on. Yeah, but some places are easier to deal with than others. I'm better off here than I was in Massachusetts, for example. I'm better off here than I was in Illinois. I was better off in Kansas than Illinois or Massachusetts because it's just easier. You're under control no matter where you go, but some places are worse than others. Country says bypass 9/11. Who's going to come to your aid? Someone going to come talk the gun out of the criminal's hand? If you just communicate with them, Country, you just reach out to them as a human being. You'll get shot, but they might understand you. Yahweh says Michael Jackson rented a Beverly Hills mansion for $25,000 a month when Neverland Ranch was searched by the police years ago. Yeah, but I mean, he could afford it. This guy is ridiculous. And I'll throw that up from all people talking about being post-65 migrant lineage. And I assume that you're suggesting that person is as well. That's okay. How about some more government overreach? Oh, I got a couple I've been holding on to. More government overreach. And we're going to jump to New York again. We already saw some big issues with government overreach with Peanut the squirrel. This one will get you too. Washington Examiner article. New York is banning pet stores from selling dogs and cats starting this December. So as of December, you will no longer be able to buy dogs or cats in New York. New York Attorney General Letitia James reminded retailers on Friday pet stores will no longer be allowed to sell dogs, cats, or rabbits as of December 15th. The Puppy Mill Pipeline Act, listen to this bullshit. The Puppy Mill Pipeline Act aims to undermine the puppy mill industry, where pets are mass bred, mistreated, diseased, and then sold for cheap. Signed into law by Governor Kathy Hochul, retailers were given 2 years to make the appropriate adjustments to comply with the law. This pet sale ban will help put an end to the dangerous puppy mill to pet store pipeline that endangers pets and costs New Yorkers thousands of dollars in veterinary care. New Yorkers interested in adding a furry friend to their family can still adopt a pet at the Humane Society Animal Rescue or a licensed breeder. A licensed breeder? You mean a puppy mill? Is that what you mean, bitch? Isn't because the pet stores also get their animals from a licensed breeder. Did you know that? And if they can't get their dogs and cats from the pet store anymore, you know where they're going to get them? Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, the flea market, the somebody out of the back of a truck parked at the other side of the parking lot in front of a Petco. You really think this is going to stop puppy mills? Are you shitting me? You know what this makes me think of? You know what this makes me think of? And I've told this story before because, again, when I was a kid, I used to read the newspaper, and I remember that in the New York Herald, reading a story about this guy that was hired by the city of Boston to catch and release the pigeons. He was getting paid $5 a pigeon to capture them because there was a million of them downtown and take them somewhere, I don't know, out in the woods and release them. And I'm reading this story and I'm like, I don't know, 13 or something, thinking to myself, but wait a minute. Don't pigeons always go back to where they nest? Exactly. They always go right back where the hell they came from. So he can release them anywhere in the world. They'll find their way back to Boston. What the hell? Chris says you can't buy pets, but you can still get them on a menu. Yeah, rats too. Helter says pet breeding will go underground. No regulation at all and make matters worse. RL30 says people will just buy illegally. Animal smuggling is a thing. But not only that, but they're talking about saving people thousands on veterinary bills. If you adopt a pet through the Humane Society, you're still going to pay a fortune in veterinary bills because of the regulations on keeping your dog vaccinated and tagged and everything else they're supposed to do for these animals. Dragon says a waste of money on the part of the city council. Pigeons will fly back to the point of origin. Yeah, that's my pigeon story from when I was a kid. I'll put that up from all people talking about Latita James. And here's Latita. Hi, Latita James. How you doing there? You got a lot of foundation on there, sweetheart. I'm like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. You really think that's going to stop puppy mills? Oh, the Puppy Mill Act. We're going to save puppies. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, Fluke Man says, I think pets are better taken care of if they're sold at breeders' houses. You can see for yourself the place they're born, puppies, parents, and certificates. But All People says Latita has a YouTube video where she's being interviewed by a Caribbean program and bragging of her Caribbean heritage. She could be lying. You know how like Kamala's African American, right? Wow. This is a really, really stupid idea, and this is an overreach of government. It says pet stores found to have violated Puppy Mill Pipeline Act could face penalties of up to $1,000 per violation. The Office of the New York Attorney General sent out a letter to pet stores notifying them of the deadline dated November 15th, stating any dogs, cats, or rabbits sold before December 15th may not remain on the premises. And this is a quote. It says, not only will the Puppy Mill Pipeline Act help protect animals, it will also help protect consumers from purchasing sick animals, the letter states, adding the AG's office expects adherence to the law once it is in effect and will take reports of non-compliance seriously. And they really do take compliance of law very, very seriously in New York. I have actually seen video of enforcement of their recycling policies, because New York is one of these places that has like 100 different colored bins, and you can only put plastic in the plastic has to go in the green bin, and paper goes in the yellow bin, and however, I don't know what the right coding is, but you got like 10 different bins or whatever, and electronics go in this bin and glass goes in this bin. And if you screw that up, they have police whose job it is to walk up and down the street and look at these bins to make sure they're not mixed up. And they tear open garbage bags to see if you threw away something that should go in recycling, and they write tickets for this shit. Tuck says, looks like a young Forrest Whitaker during story hour. Does she? Country says nothing more important than this for the government to deal with. No. They get to pretend to be holy. Oh, look at us. We're saving the animals. They don't care about those animals. They don't care about those animals at all. Okay? They really don't. They don't. They don't. But what they're really hoping for is to catch people up on they're hoping to catch people up on fines. They think it's going to be another cash grab, like when when COPPA made the deal with YouTube. I did a video on it. You might remember a couple of years ago, because the director from COPPA actually sat there and said that racking up fines from YouTube creators is going to be like shooting fish in a barrel. He actually said at a press conference he was chomping at the bit to start issuing fines. Chris says that Germany has the same crazy recycling bins, and All People says Latita actually showed proof of being Caribbean. Okay. Yep. I got more corruption for you. We're going to jump to Arizona. Another Washington Post article, actually. Former treasurer in Arizona admits to embezzling $38 million. Oh, right. Real estate in Patagonia, Arizona plumbing and new floors. Okay, real estate in Patagonia, Arizona. Plumbing and new floors for a luxurious 150-acre ranch in nearby Tumakori. Operating expenses for a cattle business and 20 vehicles, including Jeeps, Ford trucks, a Mercedes-Benz, Cadillacs, and an Airstream touring coach. These are some of the items that former Santa Cruz County Treasurer Elizabeth Guthfer purchased using more than $38 million in taxpayer funds that she has embezzled between 2014 and 2024, according to the federal prosecutor. So for the last 10 years, $38 million in 10 years, and nobody caught on to this? Gudifer, is it Gudifer? I think it's Gudifer. 62 years old, this person. Pleaded guilty this week to charges of embezzlement by a public official, money laundering, and tax evasion while she served as treasurer. Santa Cruz County in southern Arizona is looking for ways to recoup the millions that were meant for the public benefit. They didn't miss it before. You want to recoup it for public benefit? Then you should have known it was missing the first time. That's phantom money. You never knew it was there. Now you're like, oh, we need this for the public. My ass. And local officials are also suing the state for allegedly failing for years to properly audit Goodifer's books. That makes sense. The Justice Department, Santa Cruz County, the FBI, and the IRS are part of the team still uncovering Goodifer's decade-long scheme. I want to see who. Do we have a picture of Goodifer? I think they just have a film clip with Goodifer in it. And that would be, I can't pause it. It's not letting me pause. It's an old woman. It says, we expect public officials to serve as stewards of the government fiscal, not to loot it, said Nicole Argentieri, the head of the Justice Department's criminal division. Yeah, okay. We expect all of them to be good stewards, and very few of them are in any respect to government, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's the judicial system, whether it's lawmakers or anything else, town council, whether it's the people that are in charge of the public schools, name it. Few of them are. Most of them are pretty callous. They don't really seem to care. They don't really seem to care at all about how any of that money is spent. And then you end up with someone like this who just takes it way too far. And those are the ones that get caught. But, you know, the rest of them, even if they're not stealing, they're still not being good stewards of the money because they're wasteful in how it's being spent in the first place. Flukeman says they read an article that PETA wants a British pub to change their names, the Sly Fox to the Good, because it can make people think they're expendable. I don't understand what that even means. And Puck is here. He says late he was out getting iodine tablets for the pending war. Oh no. And Nature Nerd says Arizona treasurer stole tens of millions of taxpayer money. How did Arizona get so corrupt? And should she be in prison? Well, they're working on it. She's 62. They can still put her in prison, but and I don't think it says that she faces up to 35 years in prison. Her sentencing will be February 6th, and she's sitting in jail in the meantime. Okay. 35 years, she'll probably get 10, and she probably won't even live that long because she's too old. And that's a tough environment for somebody that's that aged. And are they going to be able to recoup any of that money anyways? It says the county said it had begun the process of recovering funds from Goodifer and her family members. Some of the personal property that's been identified for recovery include real estate, cattle, 15 horses, more than a dozen vehicles, and jewelry and other farm equipment. And it'll be sold inappropriately at public auction for pennies on the dollar. They'll likely recover somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12% of what was lost because they just don't handle any of that right. And that's shady anyways because there's some wink, wink, nudge, nudge shit going on at those public auctions. But there you go. Corruption, anyone? Get in line. Get in line. But yeah, there you go. Another elected official stealing your tax dollars. They're either misusing it, misappropriating it, or misrepresenting it. Never fails. One more from the Washington Examiner. I got a kick out of this one personally. Denver's mayor's resolved to go to jail for resisting deportation orders wilts. And that is, of course, Mike Johnson, the mayor of Denver, the sanctuary city, who had stated that he would resist Oh, yeah, lock me up. Changed his tune real quick. Denver Mayor Mike Johnson dodged a response to President-elect Trump's border czar Tom Homan, saying he would jail the mayor if he does not comply with federal deportation orders of illegal immigrants. Johnson has been one of a few officials who have picked a fight with Homan over the incoming Trump administration's plans for mass deportations. The Denver mayor was asked directly about if he would go to jail to block some deportations on CNN's Aaron Burnett Out Front Tuesday show, to which he insisted he said he would work with the administration on deporting violent criminals. Oh, now you're walking it back. You know, I think that there are thoughtful ways to solve this problem. If they want to focus on violent criminals, we would be happy to help support pursuing, arresting, and deporting them. Shouldn't you already be doing that? We've helped past administrations. We'd do that again. If they want to focus on adding more judicial capacity so folks with asylum claims can have those cases heard more quickly, we would support that. He had said the city would not be cooperative if the incoming Trump administration deploys the 101st Airborne into American cities to pull 10-year-old kids out of the classroom in handcuffs. That's not how that would go down, but whatever. Johnson said they can expect resisting from them if the Trump administration goes for wide-ranging mass deportations. Johnson said he would not use law enforcement to resist deportation orders. He can't, but instead predicted that citizens of the city would intervene to block federal officials. I very seriously doubt that. There might be a couple of people out there protesting, carrying a sign, but the population is not going to go out there and form a human wall to stop this deportation. Half the country's been screaming for it for 4 years. But yeah, there you go. Mike Johnson changing his tune, starting to walk things back. Puck says, did you talk about the drunk Kamala video? Was she drunk? I don't know if I saw her officially drunk in a video. Chris says he plans to avoid capture by staying at apartment complex held by immigration members. Yeah, move in with them. Have them protect you. See how far that goes. But the thing is, if he makes an order for local law enforcement to interfere, then he's in violation. And then he can be arrested. But he's not going to do that because he's not going to use resources to hinder them. Legally, he can't. But yeah, his stance has changed a little bit there. He's starting to walk that back. He's starting to walk that back. I've got a really interesting story. You want to see the worst of the human condition. And this is somebody, I think they're calling her the Wicked Witch of Colorado. Has anybody heard this story? It's very interesting. It's very interesting. And I totally empathize with this person's plight. And the state is useless, but it's a great reflection on just how evil people are. Evil and stupid and selfish. Okay? This is a beat article. All right? And I actually watched her video. I don't have it here, but I watched her video. It's pretty long, but I completely empathize with where she's coming from. It says, Kittredge is home to fewer than 1,000 people, but fueled by Facebook rumors and social media infighting, a community disagreement has become a toxic battle, leading to real-world confrontations, lawsuits, and death threats. Okay? And it's not really so much the community, but I'll explain. It says, Bear Creek, which runs alongside Kittredge Park in Kittredge, Colorado, is one of the places childhood dreams are made of. Tall, majestic pine trees surrounding a babbling brook full of rocks, perfect for skipping and cool water for playing. Children laugh, dogs bark, parents watch happily. It's the kind of place that inspires what some millennial parents on social media call core memories, When your kid grows up and reflects on their happy childhood, they'll think of this. But in spring 2022, a sign appears on the creek, private property, residents and invited guests only, no trespassing. And so community members started to push back on this. They alleged the woman from out of town that bought the home next to the creek during the pandemic and claimed that the land beside the creek was technically her property, and she wanted the locals and their kids and their dogs and their coolers off the property. They started talking about her character. She's rude. She yells at your children. She intimidates you with dogs, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Here's what's actually going on. And I'm going to open up this. Here's the picture. This is the creek. This is the woman who bought the property. I don't know if anyone has heard this story yet. Okay. Here's the here's the story. She bought the property. The creek is actually on her property line. Further up from that photo, I believe to the left, about maybe 20 feet up, there is a fence. Okay. That fence separates public land because there's parks and recreation in that direction, right? Where there is a playground and other areas. Then there's the fence. Then you have, I don't know, 20, 30 feet of property, then the creek, then a big backyard, and then the house. Okay? The creek and the brook are within the property lines. The previous owner, an elderly guy, was really motivated to sell because he wanted to get out of this. These people from the playground areas and the parks and recreations areas jump the fence, go into her creek, they fish, they do other things, they have little parties there or whatever. And she was like, what the hell, this is on my property line. The neighborhood is under the impression that she somehow stole it from Parks and Recreation. And it's not even the neighborhood that has the problem. The community in question has less than 1,000 residents. The people that are using that park are coming from miles away. They're coming from other communities. The residents in that area don't even go there. It's people from out of town who are visiting the parks. Okay? This is the problem. The reason that, because she said at first, you know, when she bought the property, she had no idea because it was winter. She had no idea that there would be a problem because it was winter. So there wasn't anybody there. But as spring and summer came on, the creek and the brook started filling up with people. People are there fishing. People are there picnicking and partying. And she, of course, it's like, who the hell are all these people? Get out of here. She's worried about two things. Problem number one, liability. If somebody gets hurt out there, suddenly it won't be forest and parks anymore. It's going to be her property if somebody slips and busts their head on a rock. And they'll want to sue her. Secondly is the trash. She says every day she's got to be out there dredging the creek. It's full of beer bottles and beer cans and dirty diapers and just all kinds of trash, picnic paraphernalia, because people leave everything there. They throw it in the water. It's disgusting. So she was like, no, enough. Something's got to be done. So she starts putting up signs. She starts putting up cameras, and she's been attacked. People throw things at her. They threaten her. I've seen the video clips of it. Throw things at her, threaten her, damage property. There's been vandalism. They call the police on her. All the police can do is say, no, actually, it is technically her land. You need to leave. It's turned into a nightmare for this woman. But to me, this is really a story about how nasty and evil and selfish people are. You know that's not your land. You know that's not part of the regular park. You know that. But you're going to go there anyway. You're going to tear it up. You're going to mistreat it. You're going to abuse it. And if somebody stands up to you, hey, excuse me, this is, you crossed the fence. You went through signs. I mean, you had to see it. This is private property. You're going to attack that person for standing up for themselves. And I bet you if I went to their house and did something in their yard, they'd lose their mind. They'd lose their mind. Joe says Trump made Ellen leave the country. We should thank him. Yeah, but unfortunately, they're going to go to her and her little girlfriend or whoever. They're going to go to the UK and make their lives miserable. And Joe also says Sharpton has become a millionaire profiting off keeping racism alive. I agree. Nature Nerd said, did she buy public lands? No, it was already part of the property. It was within the scope of the property lines when she bought the house from the previous owner. And the people are like, the previous owner allowed it because he was an old man and he just couldn't fight with them anymore. Joe says they discriminate against Tesla because they hate Elon. I heard California only gives money to non-Tesla EV companies. I have no idea. That wouldn't surprise me, though. But I wanted to touch on this story. I could run it over again on maybe tomorrow, or am I going to be on tomorrow? I know I'm running over a little bit here. I'm going late. I don't know if I'm going to be on tomorrow or not. I'll have to see because there's a lot going on tomorrow. If I'm not going to, I'll make sure I put up an alert. Puck says, watch Drunk Kamala's video. Benny Johnson and Paul Joseph Watson have videos about it. I'll have to look for it. But again, we'll go ahead and wrap up. You are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prep University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. I had Miss Kitty with me the entire time. There she is, still sleeping in the chair, little darling. All People says, good for her for standing up for herself. I know. If more people did, fewer people would be such pricks. But again, thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. As always, I hope you got something out of the conversation. And